All right. Ready to take us in?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Kayura and Mal podcast, where we are documenting our journey of my fiance trying to turn me into a gamer. For those new here, I'm Kayura, the newbie to the gaming multiverse.
And I am Mal'Ganis, the overseasoned, overcooked veteran. So, I would like to alter a statement I made in the last podcast about Helldivers 2 region locking. Apparently, players who bought the game in the regions that the game has been locked in can still play the game, but the caveat is that you can't buy it now if you didn't already own it, which is still a giga bummer. It's just not as big a giga bummer as well.
Yeah. That was kind of interesting you bring that up, because I always talk about Caleb Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
He actually brought that up in one of his weekly recap videos from last week. And I thought that was it apparently made financial news because of this.
Oh, it hurt Sony bad.
Yeah.
It hurt him bad.
So that was, to me, it was kind of interesting to see how that one move could just completely change their whole financial situation.
Yeah, they were getting it was very, very not good. Very not good there for a little while. But so more BSG drama in the looter extraction world. It appears that Arena Breakout, who to a degree is another competitor to Tarkov, has been copying code, gun designs, and props from BSG.
Yeah, I didn't get to look into their code. I wanted to do homework on this. I didn't get to.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll continue chatting about it.
I still want to dive into that. I'm very curious to see how similar they are based off the accusations that have been made.
It seems like mudslinging. The more I've listened to other people talk about it, it seems a lot like mudslinging, and then all of a sudden everybody on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now has become a blender expert who's been in the industry for 20 years. Yeah, so it's just seems like a lot of mudslinging. It does seem like it's a relatively true statement to a degree. It does make me laugh, though, that a Chinese gaming company is stealing from a Russian gaming company. So,
or could we make the argument it's a British gaming company?
that is also an argument that can be made. So, oh, you just blew me off track with that, because that was really funny. That takes a little bit of knowledge, though, to make that as funny as that is. But yeah, so Nikita has been tweeting directly from his personal Twitter account, or Xing from his personal X account. And it seems to be a bit more human communication, even with the language barrier. But it feels very hollow. It feels more like damage control tweeting. And that is very upsetting. But, at this point, it does feel a lot like it's a marketing campaign or a PR strategy to cover up anti-consumer behavior, which seems to be a running trend in the gaming community as of right now, or at least in the game developer community, which is incredibly disheartening. So,
yeah, I mean, I feel like that's when most of the higher ups start taking to social media. It's because they're,
I'm human. I'm not a corporate robot. Please give us money. It's
I mean, a lot of the same things can be said with fashion industry and any other kind of industry. They take the back seat, collect their paycheck until something goes wrong.
Yeah, pretty much. They're just trying to ride the wave until they actually have to steer the ship and fly the plane. So your code conversation, though, the research you wanted, I remember, what was it we were listening to?
We were listening to Jesse and Veritas.
That's right.
Yeah. Because
you thought the Stack Overflow joke was funny.
Yes. I actually really enjoyed that podcast.
Yeah, they're good. They are very good.
Part of it, I don't know if it's because I was stuck in a car and had no other option, but
and I was forcing you to listen to it because I was like, "Oh, new episode dropped."
But no, it was very entertaining to listen to, And it kind of got me thinking about just different topics and different conversations to branch out from what they were talking about, particularly with the code comparison. And part of it is I really wanted to kind of like look into it and see what they were saying. And it got me thinking back to something that I noticed when I was in college of the difference between like the engineering fields and the science fields. And because what I always found very interesting in science is if you really look into it, scientists do not get paid as much as engineers.
No.
And science is very much about, hey, I found this thing, let me share it with you. And hey, you go and you validate and you try to recreate this and make sure you get the same results. Science is very much a communal based field where it's about sharing knowledge, and people, I feel like, go into sciences for their love of knowledge.
Right.
But engineering is a completely different beast of its own. And I even saw that in my classes, like my physics classes. I remember getting out of class and we would go to the student lounge and we would be helping each other with homework problems and asking each other questions, and people would take turns writing on the whiteboards. Like doing homework was a community activity. In engineering, it was every man for himself.
Right. It was kind of like crabs in a bucket.
And it was like you were fighting against everyone. And in engineering, it's very much of like a company gets a piece of knowledge, they hang on to it.
Yeah, you don't want to share with the competitors.
Yeah. Even like a lot of the reason like the government funds companies like SpaceX, Boeing, that kind of stuff. If you notice, very rarely, I'm going to use some very simple things. It's been a little bit. But very rarely does NASA do a space launch that isn't partnered with a company.
Okay.
And the reason being is NASA is government funded.
Right.
Meaning any research that comes out of that, the government has to publish and put out there because it was paid for by taxpayer dollars. Right.
It's like Freedom of Information Act.
Yes. But if they are partnered up with a company like Boeing, for example, Boeing can lay claim to that information,
right,
and they don't have to publish it. That's part of the reason that it's like a lot of the like technology that the military uses is owned by private companies. The government doesn't do the research.
Right.
They'll just help fund it or make sure they have the funding to do it. But if the government were to do the research and build the aircrafts, they would have to publish the information.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So engineering is very much a like private, like don't share anything with anybody. Versus science is very much like let's share everything.
Well, and in video game land, in Minecraft, if you publish a video game, they have your code. You can't hide anything because they can just go buy it off Steam or whatever proprietary platform, and they can open the files. Like it's not, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Which is kind of mind blowing because at the same time, it's like they don't want other people getting a hold of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and I guess part of it, and I hadn't really thought about that until we were listening to the podcast, but it makes sense. Like, I'm kind of shocked that companies have moved to like PC gaming versus like when it's on a disc. It's a lot harder for people to get that information.
I mean, you can just buy the disc at GameStop.
But like people are less likely to try to like go and get it versus just like you can just open up the file.
Yeah, I mean it's a little different on a disc because there's some things to be done.
Yeah.
To like actually read it, because you know if you take an OG PlayStation 2 game and plug it in one of our PC is going to be like, what is this? You know, like it doesn't really know what to do with the file. So you kind of have to tell it, but yeah, so that's kind of, it almost feels neither here nor there because, and here's my point, here's kind of where I draw back to, that makes me laugh about this with apparently Arena Breakout copying Tarkov, and that's, Tarkov didn't get any licensing agreements with the firearms manufacturers for all the guns in the game, which is like a big deal. Like, you play an American-made video game with shooters, you know, it's in the shape of a Glock, but it is not a Glock.
Yeah.
You know, you look at a Glock and Tarkov, it says Glock and has a serial number, and it's all in the right places. You know, it's as accurate as it can possibly be. Even optics have this, you know, everything, you know, Leupold, I think, yeah, there's Leupold's optics in the game, EOTech optics, and they don't change the name. It's the actual name, and, you know, the company name and what the actual piece of equipment is. So it's like, yep. You know, so that makes me laugh, but it's like, you can't really touch them because they're a British company based in Russia. Good luck in an international court.
Yeah, no, I always find it interesting and just never, like, I hadn't thought about it until it came in of like how companies get permission to go about it, and the fact that some companies just don't.
They just don't.
Because I remember when the movie Talladega Nights, and there's like one scene where they have like all the different food out. You're like, and they're in their dining room, massive dining room. There's food all over the place, and it's all
yeah.
And they had like KFC, and there's Wonder Bread and all that. Like, the amount of money they spent just for that one scene to show all the different brands.
Yep.
I'm like, they bent over backwards to make that happen.
Yeah.
But then other companies are just like, nah.
Yeah. And it's kind of tough for a firearms manufacturer to chase stuff like that to a degree. But also, it's like, you look at like, in the context of modeling these weapons, you know, it's like an AK dust cover is an AK dust cover.
Yep.
Tarkov prides itself on being 99.999% accurate to size, shape, dimension. If Arena Breakout tries to do the same thing, then it's going to look like they're copying models.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Part of it comes down to, and this is what I wanted to look at, is with the code is, even though like the code can do the same thing, there's still differences in how it's written.
It's like a coder's fingerprint.
In a way, yes. Even just like the basics of how you name variables. There's several different ways you can do it. Of like, you can have every word lowercase with an underscore between the words as your space.
Right.
You can have every word capitalized and crammed together. So like the first letter of every word is capitalized.
Okay.
And the rest is lowercase, but then they're all just like crammed together with no underscore. Or you can do that with underscores.
Right.
Or it can all be uppercase with underscores. And then it's just, even just something simple as a test variable. You can name it test. You can name it testing. You can have your name and test by it if you're working with multiple people.
Right.
Then like something that like my office does is anything that's a variable, we actually put a V underscore in front of it. The V to signalize to every coder it's a quick indication it's a variable.
Oh, okay.
So there's different indications. So maybe between like Russia and China, like it might be a different letter depending on what variable is in their language, what letter it starts with. They could use.
True.
So there's different things like that can set it apart. And then not to mention that there are multiple ways to write one code.
Right.
So there would still be differences that are identifiable.
Yeah. Yeah. I could definitely see that. You know. But we'll see what happens. I mean, it doesn't seem like anything anybody can prove, and it's not like anything can be actioned in the first place. So it's kind of like, this is irrelevant to a degree.
Yeah.
You know, something that is a little bit more relevant is Nikita has literally been taking direct, and I will say again, direct inputs and thoughts from streamers through X as to, you know, what they want them to implement in the game. which I think can be good and bad. Some of these inputs seem to be bringing some positive changes, but it's about 2 years and $100 short for me. 2 years late and $100 short. Day late and dollar short. But it sucks, but it's like it doesn't really solve the problem for me. Like they just did the flea market no longer requires found and raid to sell things on.
Oh.
Now there's still like generic restrictions on things like level 6 plates, I think, and certain I don't think they have any plate carriers banned. I think they may have unbanned some ammos and stuff like that. So you still can't like just buy everything, but like found and raid is not a requirement to use the flea market, but it's still kind of like it's still required for quest items. So it kind of draws back to this arbitrary thing that is found in raid that's a very quasi. It's found in raid, but it's not technically found in raid, but it meets these technical requirements, so therefore it's considered found in raid. You know what I mean? Like, you remember me trying to explain that to you, and it's just like
very confused by it.
It's like trying to explain that to a new player is just like, but it sucks that it's taken this till now to get us here, but it still doesn't matter for me because they still kind of showed their true colors. Perhaps I'll feel better about it like I did World of Warcraft in a couple of years, but...
So, are other people still kind of sharing your sentiment, or are they kind of like, well, they fixed the issue, so we're going back?
No, it does definitely still seems that the community is like upset from what I've seen and what I've heard.
Okay.
Yeah, and it sucks that it's this way. Because it really feels like a 50-50 split almost. It's like screw BSG or I don't really care. You know what I mean? It's a much more nuanced conversation than that. You know what I mean?
And I get that. And I see that in the fashion industry a lot of people, and I'll use H&M as a good example.
Right.
H&M, fast fashion, like horrible working conditions. And people are just like, well, I don't care. I'm going to shop there. Their stuff is cute.
Right.
Like, not my problem type deal.
Yep.
And then other people are completely like, nope, I don't agree with it. I don't support it. I'm not shopping there whatsoever. And so it's very much in between type thing of people kind of make their choices, and some people stand like hard and strong in their beliefs.
Right.
And like don't engage with it. And then other people are just kind of like, well, they did it. Like, I can't really change it. So I might as well enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how I feel with World of Warcraft. And it's not so much a monetary investment, even though I've put loads of money, infinitely more money into World of Warcraft than I've put into Tarkov. But it's like I just can't stop playing it. You know, I took a almost 3-year break, came back to it, you know. Now granted, when I took the break, there were some other things that spurned that on. Poor leadership, cough drops.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You know, sexual harassment allegations, poor company culture that was promoting it and stuff like that. So I just kind of like, it's like, I'm just going to take a break. That's kind of where I was at. So yeah, that's just, I'm just frustrated in general with games as a whole, but this is like really kind of chafed it, you know, because like I'm trying to figure out how to quantify it, because I feel like I did an okay thing in my notes, but it's like, you did this terrible thing, now you're trying to make these positive changes, but it's like it's a much more complex issue that most people don't seem to be getting, that like they seem to get lost in the sauce over it, because like Found and Raid was a reactionary decision made to combat cheaters. If I at least understand the history of Tarkov correctly, but all it did was really confuse the rules of the game, and then removing it as a requirement from the flee seems to make sense from an economic standpoint, because it will promote people to not leave the raid because they have a LEDX in their ass. It doesn't matter anymore because they can still sell it, they can still get their money. But the point that I think a lot of people missed is that you still need Found and Raid quest items to progress in the game. So it's kind of like, I found my quest item, time for me to leave the raid. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, and what's an even more complex issue than that is they remove Found and Raid requirement for quest items, then they can be bought on the flea market, which I don't think is inherently a bad thing. It's just a symptom of poor game design, you know. Now, it is incredibly frustrating being told to go find these 3 arbitrary med kits when I have 3 IFAKs in my stash, which are effectively the same thing. But they haven't seemed to care about quest design for some time now, so I'm kind of like, or at least while I was playing, I'm like, it doesn't really matter. Because one way to solve their quest design problem would be to have instanced items. So like, go find me this red box. Well, that red box will only be there if you're on that quest, instead of bring me this gun and you can just buy the gun from such and such, or build the gun, or find the gun. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Does that, like, an instanced object make sense?
It does, yeah.
So yeah, it just, the issue's really complex. I don't fully understand it myself, and I'm not going to pretend to fully understand it. I can only go off like my experience and my frustrations with the system, and how it really kind of sapped a lot of the fun out of the game for me. You know what I mean?
Kind of. It's hard to, as someone who hasn't played, it's hard to fully.
Yeah, I don't want you to play Tarkov. I don't even want to play Tarkov. It's kind of like, trying to think a good way to explain it. It's like you ran 100 meters in a 100-meter race, but I'm trying to think like of something you could have done that would have been like, yeah, but it doesn't count because you wore the wrong shoes or something. Does that make sense?
So this is the analogy that's coming to my mind.
Okay.
I'm thinking about when I was in high school and throwing shot put. And you launch it and you have the throw that feels amazing.
Yep.
And you did a great job and you knew that's the furthest you've thrown. But then you cross the line by that much. And so you get disqualified your throw gets disqualified because of like you crossed the line by a centimeter, but it was still like 5 inches further than you had ever thrown.
Yeah, no, it's like, definitely, and now I'm thinking of quests like this. See, that sounds like what is it? I cannot remember the name of the quest. You can't kill any scavs, and you've got to go plant. You got to go find a USB, plant a USB, plant a SV98, and plant a gold watch, I think. But you can't kill any scavs in the process, and scav AI is broken. Like, if they lock onto you, you've effectively been locked onto by the Terminator. He's gonna kill you if he has line of sight given enough time.
So basically, like, if that happens, you have to get the scav.
Yeah, if you either have to break line of sight and run. In some places on customs, because that's the map you have to do it on, you can't break line of sight. You physically may not be able to see them because there's bushes and trees in the way, but that's irrelevant to a scav. If it's not a physicalized object, the scav is just locked onto you at that point. So you always have to do it with a buddy. It's very, very difficult to do that quest solo. and it's like, you know what I mean?
And then it's kind of like, well, what's the point of whether or not I killed a sapper along the way or not? Like,
some of the quests I don't understand, and some of it too is like the original Shooter Born in Heaven was, or not the original, but like the one that I remember was you had to have 3 headshots on a certain list of maps over 100 meters. Well, it's like, I mean, and it was down to the millimeter. If they were 99.999 meters inside of that circle, it didn't count. It's like we're being arbitrarily granular and accurate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I can definitely, and I guess coming from someone, for me, like coming down to math, I don't care how a problem is solved. And in engineering, most of my professors never cared how the problem was solved, as long as it was solved correctly. So it's like if I completed the objective, why does it matter?
Why does it matter? Yep.
Like,
exactly.
Why does the how matter to it?
Yeah, and that's a lot of the issue with a lot of the quests in Tarkov is the how is almost more relevant than anything else. It's like, but I did it and I have the thing, here you go. Or it's like, I did it, I got the kills. You know what I mean? It's kind of...
Yeah, that would be very frustrating if like how you accomplish this matters.
Yeah.
It's like not everyone plays the same way or has the same strengths or weaknesses.
Right, because there's like... There were several quests that had like distance requirements. So they either had to be inside of a distance or outside of a distance. Well, me and my duo, we specialized in long-range engagement. We were not close range guys. We didn't really do CQC, CQB. You know, if you're a Metal Gear Solid fan, you'll know what I'm talking about. You know, so like we excelled with Shooter Born in Heaven. We excelled with getting your iron sight bolt action shots and stuff like that. That's what we excelled at. But if it was a quest like, you know, get kills within a certain, like inside of a circular distance or inside of a small building, to think of several in Factory, if I remember correctly, it's like, you know what I mean? It's just like pain. But I understand like forcing players to like learn new skills. That definitely makes sense to me. But at the same time, it's just like the whole concept of like laser precision distances is like, but I like where Shooter Born in Heaven's at now, and that is get a headshot with a bolt action rifle. That's the only requirement. They could be standing right in front of you. So you hit them in the head with a bolt action rifle, you're good. You know, so I think that's a better way to do it. But yeah, so I'm frustrated with Battlestate. I'm frustrated with Sony. I'm frustrated with the gaming sphere as a whole. But, you know, there's only so much we can do about it.
I can understand that.
You know. Oh, corporatism. So, in other news, I finally went 8 of 8 in Sunken Temple in World of Warcraft Season of Discovery.
I'm going to pretend like I know what that means.
It means I finally got to clear the whole raid in one night.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, my team struggled, and we ended up kind of all taking a break, and I ended up moving to blue team. And we cleared it, but I can't make their raid times, so that was like the one night I could make their raid time. Or excuse me, no, the one time I could make their raid time. So I was pretty stoked to at least get to clear all the content. Pretty casual guild, casual team, so... But, yep, so the latest drama, though, in World of Warcraft Season of Discovery is that there is a new add-on that you have to pay for through a Patreon, which I think is technically a violation of the ELUA. And 2, it shows the personal data about players' characters, such as their parses from their past raids, which is how they performed in the raid, what their global ranking is, and some other metadata about the player's rating profile. So it's not doxing them. It's not giving you like names and addresses.
Okay, I was thinking like personal information of the players, but it's like character info.
Yeah, it's definitely not like a dox or anything like that. but it's very similar to Raider IO on steroids. And Raider IO is kind of a very similar add-on in retail World of Warcraft that gets used a lot, that I think is the bane of the raiding world's existence.
So is this something that World of Warcraft put out, or is this something that like someone else?
Nope, these are just mod creators, add-on makers.
Okay.
You have to be in their Patreon group paying like $20 a month to have access to it.
That makes a little bit more sense. When you said Patreon, I was just like, what is World of Warcraft doing? But it makes sense that it's like they're not the ones actually doing it.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to this point later on.
Do you think it's like do you think like they pay people to basically run like a secondary company that they actually still profit from?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not 100%, but I don't think so. That seems very red pill, blue pill, live in Alice in Wonderland or see the truth kind of. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little, yeah, that's like, this is the same thing.
I like conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
I don't always believe in them, but I like to
it's
throw.
like, why do you think Battlestate Games doesn't want to get rid of cheaters? Well, bro, it's because they sell the accounts. You know, they push out a ban wave, they ban all the cheating accounts, and then the cheaters just go buy new accounts is how they maintain their funding. You know? It's just like, all right, man, cool.
It's fun every now and again to.
Yeah, I know. It's fun to go down the rabbit hole, but it's like, I don't know if that's their exact point, but yeah, so I've never been a fan of this concept. And it's, how do I word this? It's the same as when you couldn't get into raid groups if you didn't have that tiers ahead of the curve achievement. And the way you got ahead of the curve was you completed the raid on, I think, normal difficulty is how you got ahead of the curve. So it's like you have to have this achievement to get into the raid for that raid. So you have to have the raid's complete achievement, like I've completed this raid achievement to get into the raid. It's like you need work experience to get a job, but you need a job to get work experience.
Catch-22s. So much fun.
Yeah, I know. So like when I was a raid leader, I never cared if you had AOTC, which is the acronym for it. All I cared about was like, can you do mechanics and can you follow instructions? You know what I mean? It's like, it's so dumb. So dumb. So dumb that people think this is okay.
Yeah, I think part of it, it's like, to me, it's mind-blowing how many like catch-22s there are in like actual life.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to know how to get around them.
Yeah.
Which is,
you know, I just like, you know, money can buy ahead of the curve achievement, and that's the kind of something that's become really prevalent in World of Warcraft. Like I can log into my server right now and there's people selling heroic Emir Drasil runs. 800,000 gold. He buys you a seat and they'll run you through it. You don't even have to be good. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just, okay, cool. You know.
How are people okay with that?
I don't know. I mean, and the thing is,
and I guess like, what's the point of going through it that way?
some people, they just want their achievement in their mount. That's all they want. They don't want to join a raiding guild. They don't want to learn how to play their class. They just want their whatever their reward is, and they don't want to actually work for it. You know, because you can just stick a credit card into the BattleNet shop and buy enough gold to just go, okay, I want my seat.
Because like part of me is like, it's gonna sound terrible, but it's like, I understand how people could just want to like show up to work, do the bare minimum, and get a promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, understand the appeal of that. I don't understand the appeal of it in video games, because it's like, well, why are you playing if you don't want to actually try at it?
I don't know. I don't understand it, because like I've come to the conclusion that I will never be a hardcore raider again because I don't have the time or the energy or the give a fuck to do it again. You know, I was a heroic raid leader in Siege of Orgrimmar before Mythic came out. And then when it came out, I was a Mythic raid leader. And I never want to do it again. Like, yeah, it would be super fun to do heroic and Mythic raids again with a good team of people that, like, respect each other's time. But it's like, I don't think I can do it again. It's just too much headache. It's too much stress. It's too much grinding. You know, people's feelings get hurt, you know, because people can't be professional about things. It's just sucks, you know. And really all it does, too, is it just adds to the gatekeepiness of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And this, like, built-in classism, treating, like, ungilded or non-rating players as, like, second-class citizens to a degree, because people are so, oh, you didn't clear the last 3 tiers of the last expansion, therefore you are trash. Like, I've met guys that are actually, like, really good at the game, or, like, they were raiders, like, a long time ago, but they just, like, life happened. They're still able to play the game, and they play through the story and the content, but they don't do raids. They just do LFR, and that's it. Takes, like, an afternoon. It's not, you know, a multi-day commitment, and they're still better than I will ever be in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they understand it. They can wrap their head around it. But I think it hurts a lot of new players. You know, because if you don't have a rating history, like if I tried to apply to a rating guild right now, my rating history stopped at my Mythic rating experience stopped at Blackrock Foundry. My total rating experience stopped at Tomb of Sargeras, which was almost 6 years ago. So it's like, how do I apply to a rating guild now? I have no rating experience. You look me up on Raider.io, I don't exist anymore. I don't have a rating.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have a rating, they're going to be like, get out of here. We don't know who you are. You don't have any experience. You know what I mean? It's like I don't have a resume. And that's effectively what Raider.io is. And it just goes to, I think, Asmongold's point of World of Warcraft players love to optimize the fun out of their own game. You know?
I can see that.
But I don't know. This does bring me to a major point of conversation between myself and a close friend of mine, and that is Warcraft add-ons should not exist or need to exist. There's 2 camps that most people reside in, and that's there should be no add-ons and the game should be designed well enough to not need them, and Blizzard should stop leaning on the free labor of add-on creators to fix their game for them, which seems like a very billion-dollar company thing to do. And the second camp is no combat add-ons, like dungeon boss mods, big wigs, but like UI and quality of life add-ons are okay. And I tend to reside in the latter. I'm fine with, like, if you want to move your bars around, I don't care. You know, I don't think that's a big deal. But the fact that there has to be a UI add-on, or not a UI add-on, a dungeon add-on, you know, DBM, Deadly Boss Mod, that has to tell you mechanics. You know what I mean? Like, don't stand in the fire, move, your stacks are too high. Like, it screams at you, hey, you need to do this. Because if you didn't have it, you probably wouldn't know that something was going to happen or needed to happen, because they almost design raid mechanics with that in mind. With that, Deadly Boss Mods, they'll figure it out. They'll figure out how to communicate this mechanic to the player. Does that make sense?
That does. That's
like Emir Drasil was a big problem. Apparently during the world race for Emir Drasil, there was a boss that the raid team had to use, I think it was like settings on their monitor and an in-game item to dim their screens, because of the way the mechanic was. The tell for it was the same color as the floor, but it was like a different shade. So if you like reduced the bloom and the contrast on the monitor, you could see it, but if you didn't do that, it all just looked the same. You know what I mean? It's like, which I've said in the past, it's like, does Blizzard even play their video game? You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to me.
I will say, kind of in their defense a little bit, it is tough to like develop something all day long and then like sit down and try to use it and figure out what all the errors are. And it's like, it does get frustrating, especially when there's so many different things. But I do agree, like it's something that needs to be done.
Well, have a QA department. You've got $1 billion.
But
Hire
it's
some
something
quality
like
assurance guys.
like it is. That's probably like my least favorite part of my job is validations.
Oh, like doing the QA on it.
And it's just like, because then it's like, oh, I found an issue. It's like, now I have to go figure out where I screwed up and try to go fix my own stuff. It's like, I wrote it to begin with. You think I'm going to find the error easily?
I used to just make things and then like give them to one of my coworkers and just be like, break it.
Honestly, that's the easiest thing to do.
That's what I would do. I would literally I would develop a program or a system or something or a form, and I'd just be like, here, break it.
No, I've done that multiple times. Like, here, you figure out if you can get this thing to stop working.
Yeah.
But it takes time and energy, and sometimes companies, I hate to put it this way, they don't have the resources to do it.
I don't know if I believe that.
And what I say of like, because a lot of times people only think of like money being the resources that companies have, but sometimes there's other components. Like there's your staff's like mental prowess of like if they're so drained and beat up, then there's just like the amount of staff. And it's like, okay, yes, throwing more money at this can fix the problem.
Hire more people.
Like I said, throwing more money at it can fix it. But also it's, and I'm going to say this as a developer, when you have like upper management breathing down your throat to get it out, like mistakes happen.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that.
And I think that's a lot of it. I feel like that's what a lot of people don't understand is like if management and people, the higher ups, are pushing something that's not ready, like the programmers, like they're gonna cave.
Yeah, no.
And they're gonna miss things.
Well, that's like the dude from Pirate Software, Thor. He said when he was working on StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, he said he worked 2 years of straight overtime. But because upper management, because I think he was in QA, said that the quality assurance team was going to get ahead of development. How does that work? If the product hasn't been developed, how do you do QA on it? You know what I mean? It's like, it's a funny clip.
And I will say, and just in this realm of things, particularly like in writing programs, sometimes it is easier for the same person to keep working on it than trying to hire someone else.
Yeah,
and putting them in, especially like at the end too. Like it's harder to bring someone onto the project and get them integrated in very quickly.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I mean, even like there's a project at my work. 3 of us have been working on it for months, and one of my coworkers, like I could go in and like if I had to go in and work on her stuff, I could, but it wouldn't get done quickly.
Yeah,
like if she was out for a day and something needed to be fixed, it would be more efficient to just wait for her to get back the next day.
Okay.
Than for me to it would take me all day to go in and try to see what she did and try to fix it.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And that is like another thing, like with resourcing, that you can't always, like there are ways that they can throw money at it, but they can't always throw money at it.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, it's just frustrating. It's really frustrating. Like,
imagine how the coders feel.
Yeah, I know. I bet they're suffering right now. But on a lighter, happier note, Mr. Pandaria Remix dropped, and I could gush about it for hours. I have not felt this motivated to do anything in World of Warcraft probably since 2012, which is nice. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun, and it's definitely, if I had to choose now between Season of Discovery and Mist of Pandaria Remix, I would choose the remix 10 out of 10 times. Because I feel like Season of Discovery has lost the plot of what they were trying to do, because now it just feels like vanilla World of Warcraft. It doesn't feel different or special anymore. It's like, I gotta go farm gold, I gotta go farm rep, I gotta go farm this or that or mats or pats, and it just, I don't want to do that. This is supposed to be a remix, a seasonal thing that's only supposed to last 90 days or 360 days or whatever. I don't want to spend it farming gold. Like, gold is not a thing in remix. The only thing that matters in remix are bronze coins, which you can trade in for, for stuff like or raid mounts or raid gear, dungeon gear. But it's like the cosmetics for it for people who didn't get stuff or haven't been able to go back and farm the raids for it. So it's like, that's cool. I really like that. But Season of Discovery has really lost the plot, and it's kind of upsetting. So hopefully they can get it back on track with Phase 4, which apparently has been delayed, which I think is a good thing that they have delayed the next phase. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if I go back to Season of Discovery. I'm unsure as to whether or not I will. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm almost inclined to say you should give it a try, because it's in a confined box.
I mean, you keep saying that, which I have not played in a while, which is supposed to be the whole point of this channel.
Yeah, I know. Your schedule has been a little crazy and you've been sick a lot.
Yeah, be interesting to see if I have to go have surgery.
Yeah, I know. Oh boy. Yeah, but no, I would. I think remix might be the spot for you, because the thing is, the biggest thing is I almost want you to do it alone.
I think that's what I hate about video games right now, is I hate the feeling of being alone with it.
Do you feel that way when you read books?
No.
Because World of Warcraft is effectively just a choose your own adventure book.
I think part of what I like about books is there are details to help you relate to the character.
Okay.
Versus, at least in my experience of playing video games, like, there's nothing to like get in your player's mind and like what makes them tick. Like, that's the reason I don't feel alone while reading, is I feel like there are ways that I relate to characters.
Are you thinking about your character or characters in the story of the video game?
Either one.
Because your character is like your avatar, but there is that for characters in stories, like especially in World of Warcraft.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, to be fair, I didn't realize when it funneled you into BFA that it was going to be the way that it was, and that's my fault, and I want to apologize for that, because the BFA start is horrible in terms of providing context to brand new players as to what the hell is going on. Because nobody knows. Even if I went into BFA, I'm like, oh, there's Jaina Proudmoore. Oh, there's Gin Greymane. Who are you people? What are we doing here? How did we get here? Why is this a thing? You know what I mean?
And there's a lot of like, who is this? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? And it's like when reading, like, there's emotion to reading.
Okay.
Or at least the type of reading I do.
Maybe I should just buy you some World of Warcraft books. We'll start there.
I'll give it a shot. I won't make any promises.
I think I still have Storm Rage, something laying around somewhere. Give you the Storm Rage book.
Because like I definitely, that's part of it. And like I said, like when I play video games, I just feel alone in the process.
Even if I sit next to you.
Kind of. Like, it's a little bit better, like, if you're playing, like, War Thunder or something like that with me.
So, like, what if we both... Because I've already got a character in Remix, but I can make an alt and we can play together. So, even if I, like, played and quested with you, would you still feel alone?
It's hard to say because we haven't done it that much.
Okay. I'm just trying to think because we'll give it a shot. We'll try sometime this week.
Because like, and I think because I really think that's part of it. Of like, there's times like I see you play video games and like you have your headset on and you're like talking to people, and I'm like, but when I sit down and play, there's like I'm not talking to anyone. I'm just staring at a computer screen doing stuff. Like it's
Okay. I'm trying to digest what you're saying, but it doesn't really make any sense to me. But that's because I have the video game brain rot and you don't. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I guess
Because to me, when you just lay in bed and watch YouTube, I'm like, I can't. You know what I mean? It just that's like my wind down mechanic to go to bed.
I mean that's definitely my wind down, but it's for me. It's like if like this might be the best way to put it is like with video games, like I want the community experience and I'm not getting it.
It's because you have to talk to people. You can literally walk up to someone in World of Warcraft and be like, click them, whisper, hey, I'm new. I need help. What does this mean? And I guarantee you they'll for most of the time they'll try and help.
But I don't know those people.
That's the point of an MMORPG, babe. I don't know who Alestra is, but we raided together a bunch. He was my raid leader. We are good friends now. I don't know who Johnny G is, but we raided together a lot. He was our druid healer. You know what I mean? There's guys that I met.
But you are now friends with them, even if you don't know them. Like you are now friends with them.
Yeah. That's why you also have Discord. If you want to join a guild, hey, we have a Discord. Come join it. Come hang out and chat with us. Sit in a chat room with random people. Let's see if anybody's in the guild chat right now. Nope, it looks like they've ended their session. But yeah, Homer Dude and Johnny G were just like chilling out, playing Mr. Pandaria Remix together. They don't know each other. They met via me. Granted, I went to high school with Homer Dude, but, you know, him and I have always bounced off each other for years playing World of Warcraft together. Is it the social anxiety? Is that what it is?
And it's weird because like I don't mind like meeting people and talking to people, but it's like when there's a screen, it's like
yeah, I'm the other way around. It's face to face that makes me nervous.
I would much rather just randomly start talking to someone in line.
That's insane. You're maybe video games just aren't for you because you're a certified psychopath. You're a crazy person. You would rather just say hello to, like, walk up to someone in a grocery store line and just start trying to have a conversation with them?
Yes.
Why? That's crazy. Who am I getting married to? I feel like I don't even know you now.
Have you not just seen me like just randomly start having conversations with people?
I have, but it's always been like contextual, like it kind of like you know what I mean? I'm thinking of like you just like cold calling someone, like you just like cold introduction. Hey, my name is such and such.
No,
you know
like
what I mean?
so like when we were at Disney.
Okay.
I'm listening to the conversations of people around us to see if I can interject myself into their conversation.
Oh, so you're the annoying person. That's right. Yeah, I can't. No. I'll listen to people's conversations, but I wouldn't, never would I interject at any given point in time. That's crazy. So you listen with the intent of, I'm going to talk to these people. Is that your thought process?
Like, not necessarily like I'm going to, but like if I can find an opening.
Do you just desire to talk to everybody that's like in your proximity at any given point in time?
I think it's more so to like pass the time.
That's crazy.
Like, and maybe this sounds weird, but it's like, so me and my mom do Black Friday shopping almost every year.
Right.
And so we were the crazy ones standing outside of like Belk's at like 3 a.m. waiting for them to open up for. And it's like there's a line of us, and so like we would just like, you know, if we could like start having a conversation with people, we would. And then like we had like made connections with these people. Like we see the same people every year. And we say hi to them every year.
I want to vomit.
Never see these people any other time.
I legitimately want to vomit.
Why? What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with establishing human connection with other people in a same scenario situation. It's the, like, you're just around other humans and you're like, I must interact with them.
I mean, it's not like I must interact with them, but like...
Do you like force conversation with other people?
I don't like force it, no.
Okay.
Like if like I say hi to someone and they just like glare at me, I'm like, okay, bye. I don't say anything else. Like,
is this just like a social butterfly thing that I don't get?
Probably.
Okay. I'm like trying to wrap my head around it. Yeah, I don't function that way. I don't like...
Okay,
when people walk in my office, I'm like, please God, don't talk to me.
So this might be a great way to explain it. Of like in the human world, like you can read facial expressions and you can tell if like someone doesn't want to talk to you.
Okay.
Or if they don't want you like being a part of their conversation. Like you can just like step away from it.
Okay.
In video games, like if you go up and talk to someone, like if I'm bugging someone, I have no way to like really tell unless they say like, hey, F off.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but the stakes seem lower in the video game than they do in real life. Does that make sense that the stakes are lower in the video game?
I disagree with that.
Okay. Okay, crazy person.
Like
Crazy
how are
person
they like
alert.
how's that higher stakes? Like if someone doesn't want to talk to you, they'll
Because I don't feel socially awkward like PMing somebody. Like there's been times, you know. When
I think it's more because it's like there's like a digital footprint of the conversation.
Oh, so you want to say fucked up shit to people and there not be a record of it? Okay, so you're just a weirdo. Okay, I got it now. Somebody just wants to say creepy things to people and there not be a digital record of them being
it's
creepy.
like if I say hi to someone and they're not happy about it and I leave them alone, it's like in an hour they're gonna forget that interaction ever happened. But if I go say hi to someone in a video game, like there's that forever record.
Well, the forever record doesn't exist for them. It only exists for the developers.
Still is there.
You just don't want there to be a record of your social awkwardness.
I'm actually not that socially awkward.
The only anxiety I get about it is misspelling something. That's the only anxiety I get about it. I'm like, did I spell the correctly? Like, that's the only concern that I have.
Yeah, I don't think I really care if I misspell words, so...
Yeah, I know.
As you have read my text messages for years.
Yes, I have. So, but yeah. Yeah, we'll give it a shot. I don't think I want to film it. The initial one. Trying it out.
Okay.
Unless you think we should.
I don't know.
I feel like there's less stress and pressure. Does that make sense?
I can see that.
You know, because there's like almost like a pressure to perform, and I want to avoid the pressure to perform. And like if we have to take time for me to explain something, you know, I don't feel like we're wasting the audience's time. Does that make sense?
Yes, though I feel like the argument could also be made that like we're helping other people learn how to play. But I really don't know if like people are watching us to learn. So
yeah, it's more. I would imagine for us, because I'm not really a guide maker. Like I can do like one-on-one instruction and training and teaching, but like I don't know if I could make a guide that was clear and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
I also feel like there's a lot of other resources out there. I could be wrong in that, but
no, there's a ton of resources. It is a lot of competition in that environment.
mm-hmm.
You know, and pretty much your gold standard for any PvE class design stuff like that is probably going to be Preach. Go check out his channel. He's awesome. And then or Preach Gaming, and then for PvP would definitely be like Swifty or Bajira. And I don't know if Swifty's still active, but I saw Bajira streaming the other day. So you know, it's like you have titans that have existed for over 10 years now in the space. It's like cool, you know, and pretty much the lore titans would be probably Novel 86. He's a lore titan. And then for like the news titans would probably be Taliesin and his wife, and then I just forgot his name. What up? I have because I'm watching one of his videos right now. Mad Season Show. He's like those two. He's like retells the history of the game. Taliesin and his wife do like news of the game, and then Novel 86. He does like the lore, like the books. Like he reads the books and explains, okay, this place, this happened, this character was here. You know what I mean? Like I almost feel like maybe I should just like plug Novel 86 into your brain for a little bit. Because he's got a really good like overarching video. It's a little long, but it explains how World of Warcraft started. It might be worth a watch.
Okay.
If you can promise me you'll watch it and not think it's all stupid and make fun of me for liking video games.
And I won't make fun of you. Have I ever made fun of you for liking video games?
Not to my knowledge.
Mm. Even when your roommate tried to?
Huh?
Even when your roommate tried to?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was a bad roommate, but thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. We hope you enjoy the content because we love making it for you.
If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. We enjoy having you guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe down below.
There'll be a Patreon link as well. Peace.